All right, well, welcome everyone to our accounting bootcamp today. We are super excited to chat with you about all things accounting, and we are super excited to have Lindsey Price from Deloitte here to chat with you all about accounting opportunities with Deloitte and what those hiring timelines look like, as well as answer any questions that you guys have at the end. So before we do additional introductions, I'm actually going to introduce Monica Gonzalez to you guys. Monica is an accounting student in the Bloch School and had great success going through this process in the fall, and wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about her experience and give you guys some advice on the steps that she took in the fall and how you guys can be successful going forward. So thank you, Monica, for being here.
Thank you so much, Maggie. Yeah, thank you for the opportunity of, getting on here and giving a little bit on my perspective and my experience for this whole process, because I know it's, it can be a little daunting, especially, doing this for the first time ever. It's definitely nerve-wracking, and it takes a long time. It takes a lot of preparation, but it will all be worth it in the long run. So my name is Monica Gonzalez. It's very nice to see all these really nice faces. I am a junior majoring in accounting, and I actually was recently accepted into Deloitte's Discovery Internship for the summer of 2021. And so I'm really excited to talk about my journey and give you a little bit of insight and perspective as to how to begin, the internship searching process. So first, I'd like to start off by saying that all of you are already going in the right direction by, attending and participating and being here. I think Maggie can agree with me and say that just being here makes all the difference. Starting off and participating and making yourself, known is a super, super big step and a really important one. So I started UMKC in the fall of 2020, and I transferred from JCCC actually. So one of the first things that I did at UMKC was start my connections with Career Center. And so I actually attended a transfer student boot camp in the summer before I began UMKC. And after the transfer boot camp, I went to the accounting boot camp, and that's really when my connections with career services started growing. And I really don't want to exaggerate here, but I will say that just attending the accounting boot camp and starting that connection with career services just changed my course for the remainder of the semester. So for accounting, it's extremely important to complete internships to give you an idea of what practice you'd like to focus on and really what firm you'd be interested in working at. So I remember right after the accounting boot camp, I contacted Maggie and I asked her for advice because I felt I was falling a little bit behind with the whole internship searching process, especially with accounting, since you have to start right in the fall. So I was a little nervous about that. So I was really determined to land an internship for the summer of 2021. And I talked to Maggie about that, and I opened up to her. And, I just really wanted to start preparing myself for, the whole process for the fall. And so a few things that I like to mention before going any further is to not be afraid to ask for help. That is exactly what I did. And I promise you, everyone at Career Services is so determined to help you become the professional that you want to be and help you achieve your goals as a student and as a professional. So just use the resources you have available at UMKC as students and make it a goal to make yourself present with Career Services. Sometimes all it takes is just a quick email to Maggie or Ashley, or just a quick Zoom call, just casually, hey, so what do I need to do to get to A, B, and C? So the few things that I worked on with Career Services first is I was wondering what sort of opportunities were available, for as a junior in accounting and, not having really any previous work experience. So that's the first thing that I worked on with Maggie. And so she helped me find dates. She helped me find application, where to apply, because, this is all new to you as a student. Sometimes you don't even know where to apply. So she really helped me edit my resume, which was also a huge help, because sometimes your resume, the first draft is a little scattered, and you just want to make sure that your resume is a good representation of like everything that you want an employer to see and make sure that you want them to know about you. So after the application process, I fortunately landed interviews at two different firms, and which I was really interested in. And so, but the interview process was probably the hardest part of the whole journey, just because it's really nerve wracking. You've never done it before, and I really didn't know what to expect. So I opened up again to Maggie and I told her that, I was feeling really nervous about this and I just wanted to prepare as best as I could. And then she mentioned that Career Services actually offers mock interviews. So to help you prepare for that big moment. So I immediately set up a mock interview with Maggie. And let me tell you, it was one of the best decisions I've ever made, honestly. Going to the interviews was still, nerve wracking, but the mock interviews definitely help you prepare to say like what you want to make sure the interviewers know about you, and it helps you build your confidence. And so it was thanks to this preparation that I was able to achieve my goal at interning at Deloitte for the summer. So yeah, I'm really excited about that. And so just a few closing thoughts. I really can't stress enough like the importance of establishing that connection with career services as soon as you can, and use the resources that you have as a UMKC student to your advantage.
Thank you, Monica, so much. Did you go to the career fair in the fall?
Yes, I did. Yes. So yeah. So I was talking to Maggie, and she mentioned the accounting fair, and it's a pretty big deal at UMKC just because so many firms are able to attend, and you get that really like, well, right now especially since it's virtual, you get that really like advantage really of getting a 15-minute slot with the firm that you're interested in. That just gives them a great idea of who you are. You get that one-on-one kind of experience. If you don't, because there's group sessions and there's individual sessions for the virtual accounting fair, and it just gives you a great opportunity to talk one-on-one, tell them about yourself, and just establish that connection.
Absolutely. Awesome. Thank you, Monica. Does anyone have any questions for Monica from a student perspective? You can put them in the chat or you can unmute, whichever you prefer. All right. Well, we will also have a really cool accounting career. It's not exactly an accounting career fair, but it's our Beta Alpha Psi spring networking event coming up in about a week and a half now. So at the end of Ashley telling you guys a little bit about how to get involved this semester, I will walk you through how to get registered for that event. So you can basically, if you miss the accounting fair in the spring or in the fall, you can attend this event and get that one-on-one time with our accounting firm. So Monica, thank you so much. We really appreciate you sharing your perspective and encouraging our students to get involved early and talk to us in career services so that we can help.
For sure. Yeah. And I'll actually, if you don't mind, I'll put my contact information up in the chat. If anyone, just a quick thought. Erica Rodriguez was an accounting student that Maggie put me into contact with. And I will just say that was a huge key in like building my confidence, because, she was talking to me about her journey, and, just learning that student perspective and just knowing that you're not the only one that's done this whole process before is really helpful. And, just giving you tips and tricks and like just anything that'll help you with the whole process, which, like I said, can be nerve wracking, especially if it's your first time. So yeah, just feel free to reach out to me. Like I am ready to answer any of your questions and help you in any way I can.
Wonderful. Thank you, Monica. Yeah. And, whether it's more general advice you want, or you want to talk to a specific student who has either interned or worked full-time for a specific firm, we can get you in contact with the right student too. If you say you want someone with Deloitte, we would definitely connect you with Monica. If you want someone with KPMG, we could connect you with Erica. You know, we have all these great students who have gone to work for all these amazing firms, so we can connect you with the right students to get the questions that you need answered. So thank you, Monica, so much for including your contact info. All right,
of course,
so
and thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So next, Ashley and I would love to give you a little introduction to who we are and how we can help you in the Career Center. So I'll turn it over to Ashley to give you a little overview of what she can help you with.
Hi everyone, my name is Ashley Nance and I work mostly on the student side in the Bloch Career Center. So that includes mostly working one-on-one with students in student appointments. So these are half-hour appointments. You can make as many as you want and schedule them through Handshake, but we really talk about anything career development related. So these can include things like resumes, mock interviews, job applications, LinkedIn, or maybe you've just decided on your accounting major, but you're really not sure what you want to do with that accounting major. I'm happy to chat about that. That's something that I know a lot about and am working with students one-on-one all the time. So that's definitely who you can come to at the Bloch Career Center to chat about a lot of that career development process. I also manage a lot of workshops. So these are just student presentations that I lead to go over a bunch of different career development topics. So this semester, for example, I'll have a lot of introduction to resumes workshops. I'll have introduction to interviewing workshops, Career Fair 101. I know Maggie's going to talk about our career fair in just a sec, but I do host workshops about how to prepare for those career fairs. So if you are a newer student, or if you've just never attended a career fair before and just have some questions about how to do that, or maybe you even have questions about how to network successfully at the Beta Alpha Psi event, that's something that you can talk to me one-on-one in an appointment, or you can attend one of these workshops and get some of that guidance. And I'm also the person that you can go to determine that timeline. So Monica talked a lot about getting involved early or trying to think about your goals as you come through UMKC. And so I'm the person that you can talk to about what that looks like for your particular case. And so what that looks like for what classes you have right now, what your goals are, and maybe what firms or organizations you're interested in pursuing. So that's definitely something that that I can work with students on. You can really find me through Handshake, but I will chime my email in the chat as well. You can schedule appointments with me, or you're welcome to shoot an email my way as well.
Awesome, thank you, Ashley. Well, so for the students who know me, you knew me previously in Ashley's current role, being more student facing and having those appointments and teaching those workshops. But recently I actually transitioned over into our manager of employer relations and outreach role in the Bloch Career Center. So I am still very much here to support you all, but just in a slightly different capacity. So my job going forward is that I am going to be the one building those employer relationships, planning events for you, like career fairs and panels and different things, so that you have these great opportunities to interact with our employer partners. Ashley and I'll be working very collaboratively together to make sure that we know what you're interested in. We know the companies that you're wanting to engage with and make sure that we have those opportunities available for you. But yeah, feel free to reach out to me if there is a company specifically that you want to connect with, that I can make an introduction or get you contact information. And then you'll work with Ashley on, really that career development piece. So so Ashley and I are super excited to support you in all of your internship and full-time pursuits. And then we want to talk a little bit about the different types of accounting that you might pursue. And then I'm going to turn it over to Lindsey to talk about Deloitte. So in the chat, if you guys wouldn't mind, if you've thought at all about the type of accounting that you would like to pursue, whether that's government, private, corporate, or public accounting, put it in the chat for me so we can kind of give an idea of, or you can say undecided or leaning towards something, just to give us an idea of what types of accounting you think you might be interested in. Okay, lots of public, government or private.
Okay.
Okay.
Sí, mami.
All right. Okay, so a little bit of everything. That's awesome. Okay, so we want to talk to you guys a little bit about the different types of accounting that you can pursue. And the big difference between these different types of accounting, kind of off the bat, is the CPA requirement. So for those of you who have gotten into your accounting curriculum a little bit, you probably have heard a lot about the 150 hours that you need to become CPA eligible. So, and that's the big differentiation between especially private accounting and government and public. So government and public accounting really, private or public accounting, it's an absolute requirement that you are CPA eligible to work full-time for a firm. Government accounting, 9 times out of 10, they're also going to want you to be CPA eligible. So that means that you need to have 150 hours before you're going to work for those companies full-time. Private or corporate accounting is a little bit different. Sometimes they want you to be CPA eligible, but often they do not require it. So you could just do your internship, you know, between your junior and senior year. You could graduate after your senior year of college with your 120 hours, and then you could go work full time in private accounting. And so the big difference between public and private accounting outside of the CPA requirement is that when you work for a public accounting firm, you have clients that are other individuals or companies. When you work in private accounting, your client is your company. So you might work in the accounting office for Hallmark or H&R Bloch or Cerner, and your client is your own company. And then in government accounting, it's sort of a similar situation where the agency that you work for is your client. So that's kind of a big difference too. And so in order to get that CPA requirement, the 150 hours is really important. And you can get that really any way you want. You can pursue an MSA degree right after your BSA, which is just usually a 1-hour sort of add-on degree. And that'll get you to your 150 hours. Some students come in with so many credits from high school that it just makes sense for them to add a minor, maybe double major, and that's the way that they decide to get to their 150 hours. In terms of the firms, I have never heard of a firm caring really how that student gets to the 150 hours. It's just really important that they get to it. The other requirement to sit for the CPA is that you work so many hours underneath a CPA. And so that becomes, of course, a given when you work in public accounting, and pretty much a given when you work in government accounting. Might not be as much of a given if you work in that corporate or private accounting. There might be one CPA, but they might be pretty high up and kind of overseeing a lot of different people, and you might not be directly reporting to them. So that can be a little bit more questionable in terms of getting those CPA requirements. So, but again, the big differentiation is the 150 hours in terms of public and government and then private accounting. Lindsey, do you have any updates on, I know also CPA requirements are changing rapidly. I believe it used to be that you had to have the 150 hours completed before you could sit for the CPA exam, but now once you hit 120, you might be able to start sitting. Are you familiar?
Yeah, I'm not, that's close to what I know. I know you can't like start taking it and then decide, oh, I'm not going to get the rest of these hours. But I do think you can start sitting before you've actually graduated. As far as Deloitte's concerned, like you said, we don't care how you get it. We don't, sorry if this isn't what you want me to say, but we don't pay more for master's degrees. So if you get it from double majoring in undergrad or extra hours or community college or whatever it is, that doesn't matter to us as long as you are CPA eligible. Also, whatever state you want to sit in is fine with us too. So Kansas has some pretty, like, they're not difficult requirements, but if you don't go to school in Kansas, your curriculum probably isn't going to align with it. So if that means you need to sit in Iowa or whatever it is, that doesn't matter to us either.
Awesome. Well, and that's just a great, I think, point to make, is that check your CPA requirements with the states that you want to sit in, because they do differ. To Lindsey's point, Kansas has specific curriculum requirements, which means you have to take certain classes to qualify to sit for the CPA exam. and Missouri might not have those requirements. So, and they're even, I've heard of states like New York, you can take it even earlier. And so some students go and they take the CPA exam out of New York because their requirements are more lenient. So, I mean, there's so many, things to know and to understand about the CPA requirements. So just decide what state you want to take it in, understand the requirements, and just make sure that you're meeting them. And that's something that your accounting faculty can help you with as well. They're very versed in these requirements and what you have to do to achieve them. And so definitely, keep us connected because we can help you with timelines, keep your faculty connected, keep your academic advisors connected because they need to be giving you, really good information about when you can graduate, when you'll hit a certain amount of hours. So, really kind of be in touch with lots of different people to make sure that you're on the right track. One other thing that I wanted to mention, and I know, Lindsay, you'll be able to back me up on this. If you think that at any point in your career, you want to work in public accounting, start in public accounting. It's really difficult to start in corporate accounting or private accounting and switch to public later on. It's much easier to start in public accounting. And then down the line, if you wanted to switch out of it, you could go and work in private accounting. It's just every recruiter I've ever spoken with has said, if you think at any point you want to work in public, start public, and then potentially switch over to something else. Would you agree with that, Lindsay?
Yeah, and kind of an additional reason for that is we have a very specific training program that you go through even onboarding and before you start, but then also once you're on the job. So when people don't start with us or in public accounting, they don't necessarily get those building blocks that they need. So a lot of times we see people, they maybe could have been in the workforce for 3-4 years, whatever it is. And if they decide they want to go to public, they most of the time have to start back as a first year at square one.
Absolutely. Yeah, so that's just, something to think about if you're sort of questioning, corporate or public or government or public, and you think, you might want to give public a shot or you think you might be interested in public, I would definitely recommend going into public accounting initially and then transferring out at some point if you want to. You might end up loving public accounting and not want to transfer out of it. I have also had a lot of students who have gone into public accounting and after 5 or 6 years, they get poached by a client and switch over to working in private accounting. It happens, sometimes. So, there's lots of different options, but that's just something to keep in mind that to Lindsay's point, you might have to kind of start from square one if a few years into your career, you decided you wanted to go back to public accounting. Do you guys have any questions about the different types of accounting that you might want to do? Thank you for that note, Meredith. Awesome. Yeah, you definitely want to finish the 150. I think it just depends on the state when you can start sitting for the exam. But any questions about sort of government versus public versus private accounting that we can answer before we move on? All right. Well, I am going to turn it over to Ashley, and Ashley is going to tell you a little bit about our upcoming events and how you can get involved on campus. I say on campus, everything we're doing this semester will be virtual, just to keep everybody safe. But she's going to go over that. And then I will show you guys how to get signed up on Handshake for our upcoming Spring Networking event, and then we will turn it over to Lindsay.
Awesome. Yeah. So I definitely wanted to point out the events that are coming up this spring for you students to get involved and to be able to at least have face-to-face contact with a lot of these employers that are coming to campus virtually. So the one that's coming up next is the Beta Alpha Psi Spring Networking event. So Maggie is going to cover kind of how to show you to register for that on Handshake. But for a lot of accounting firms, but also corporate, they do virtual office hours. So those will be hosted through our office, but also through Zoom and through the company's links. It kind of just depends on each employer, but those events will be posted in Handshake. It's very common for firms to have maybe a set block of time that they post and create an event, and you, the student, can sign up for maybe a 10 to 15 minute slot and talk with that recruiter about their organization and about what opportunities that they have for their organization. And so that's a really great way for you, the student, to be able to get that one-on-one time if you're not able to attend the Beta Alpha Psi event or not able to attend the other events that we have coming up. And so look for the virtual office hours. If you know that there are some firms or organizations out there that you have an interest in, start looking at in Handshake as we approach the spring semester. Many recruiters are starting to put those events in Handshake and getting those live. We will also have virtual campus interviews. So if you are at the point where you are applying for internships and maybe even applying for full-time roles, many of those interviews will be virtual, or all of those interviews will be virtual. And so those are also facilitated through Handshake. And so you can take a look at that and just become very familiar with Handshake and how you can get registered for those interview schedules there. We will also have a virtual career fair. So I will let Maggie talk a lot about that, but it's coming up on February 17th. And this is certainly a way for you to get in touch with those employers that are coming to campus and want to hire students like yourself. And so I think, Maggie, we have about 30 or 40 companies registered so far. I don't know if you can confirm that number or not.
We have 44 as of today, and then we expect that to go up to be between 50 and 60 by the time the fair is live.
Yeah, so quite a few employers that are looking to hire, that have open positions, that are looking for students like yourself. And so again, that is on February 17th. It's from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And you can register for that event through Handshake. And then as I mentioned before, I host those student presentations, those workshops. I will be doing ones on resumes, interviews, career fairs. Later in the semester, I'll be talking a lot about salary negotiation and also digital tools like LinkedIn and Handshake and how to navigate those well. And so definitely, if you're interested in that, and especially if you're kind of new to career development and new to campus even, that's certainly something that I would encourage you to register for and come and learn as much as you can. And then finally, we will have some employer panels or industry panels, I guess, later this spring. So we'll have 3 in March. One is exploring careers in technology and analytics. A third is exploring careers in consulting. And the last one is exploring careers in healthcare. So if you are interested in those different industries, keep an eye out on Handshake for those events to be going live, and register for those as well.
Awesome, thank you. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you all how to quickly register for our upcoming events. And so Ashley mentioned BAP Spring Networking event, as well as our big fair that will be on February 17th. So there will be, if you're interested in public accounting, I would definitely go to the BAP Spring Networking event, because that event is all public accounting firms. And then our big fair on the 17th is more private and government opportunities. So if you want to go work for H&R Bloch or SS&C, companies like that, or you want to go work for, we have several government agencies that will be there. That would be a great event to get connected with. So let me share my screen again and show you guys how to sign up if you have never attended one of our events before. All right, can you all see Erica Rodriguez's profile? Awesome. Okay, so Erica just graduated this past December and is off onto her career with KPMG, but she's always been very nice and let me use her Handshake profile to kind of walk you guys through how to register for events and to kind of just see how you should have your Handshake profile set up. So all I can say is, especially as things have moved into a more virtual space, the more filled out your Handshake profile, the better. One key thing to keep in mind, each company who registers for one of our fairs can set parameters for who they want to talk to. So you need to especially have GPA, the major that you're pursuing. You need to select that you're part of the Bloch school. All of those things need to be filled out on your Handshake profile so that when you go to sign up for slots with employers that hopefully you meet all the parameters that that company has put into place. So, and then really it's just a lot of copying everything over from your resume. You know, make sure that you have campus jobs, off-campus jobs, internships, all that good stuff on your resume, and put it over on your Handshake profile. So to register for the fairs, you're just going to come up to this top left-hand corner, click on events. And then you're going to click on career fair. And all of our fairs are going to populate. So for you guys, I want to show you specifically the Beta Alpha Psi Spring Networking event that's coming up on the 27th. You just simply click on that event. And you can read a little bit about it. Click on register. And then it's going to say, great, you're registered. Okay, so what's next? Now you need to sign up for your different appointment times. So you're going to click on view employer sessions. And basically you can go down and see what firms are attending and who has their schedules up. So we do have a few firms that are going to be there that just haven't uploaded their schedules yet. Lindsey will be there with Deloitte, Bergen KDV, and a couple others will also be there that haven't uploaded their schedules yet, but you'll see them within the next few days. So basically you can just decide, okay, well, I really want to do an individual session with RSM. So you're going to click on this one-on-one with RSM, and it's going to show you all of the different slots that you can pick. So the fair goes from 4 to 6, and right now you pretty much have your pick of the time slot that you want to, you know, chat with that firm. So you would just select a time and hit confirm, and you'd be all good to go. Some of the firms will also be having group sessions, and so that looks like this. And so RSM is doing a group session from 4:30 to 5 on their summer or their upcoming 2022 internship programs. You would just click on that. You can read a little bit about it and hit confirm. And then you're pretty much good to go. So then what you will see is that this bar right here will start populating with your sessions, and it'll have all of the different sessions that you've signed up for. You can also access that here under your schedule. And you'll have everything here. And on the day of the fair, you just come in a couple minutes early, and there will be a little button next to the session that says like launch or open. And basically you just click that button when it's time, a video pops up, and you're in your 10-minute session with that employer. So it's super easy. I get in there earlier than later so that you guys can, you know, sign up for as many sessions as you want to talk to all the different firms you want to chat with. But yeah, so that's the Beta Alpha Psi event. And then you'll basically do the exact same thing with you'll come over to career fairs. If you want to attend the big fair, you'll click on our Spring 2021 Business Computing and Engineering Fair. And you will be able to scroll down, see the different companies who are coming, and look at available sessions and do it exactly the same way. You can go to group sessions, you can do individual, really whatever you would like. So definitely get in there, sign up for those events. It's a great way to do a lot of great networking and learn a lot about these companies as their applications start opening. And Lindsey's going to talk a little bit about like the hiring timelines for especially the public accounting firms because they're earlier than you would think. And so that's why you need to plan ahead and make sure that you're jumping on all of this really, you know, promptly. What questions do you guys have about events, getting involved on campus, any of that good stuff? All right. Well, with that, I am then going to pass it over to Lindsey. And Lindsey's going to talk to you about Deloitte and hiring timelines and what that all looks like. And then we are all here to answer your questions. So thanks so much, Lindsey.
Yes. Hello. Good morning, everyone. My name is Lindsey Price, and I'm the campus recruiter for Deloitte. I'm out of the Kansas City office, but the way we work is we have dedicated schools that we're responsible for. So if you want to work at Deloitte in any other location, I'm still your main point of contact. So just wanted to throw that out there at the beginning. And I'm going to be covering just kind of a Deloitte background and history, differences in audit and tax, and then hiring timelines. And I know we're going to have a dedicated Q&A once I'm done, but if you guys have any questions while I'm talking, feel free to put them in the chat and I can address them as best as I can when they come up, just so you don't forget. So I'm gonna share my screen. Can you guys see this video on the left? Sorry for my online shopping in the background. Okay, and then let me make sure that I'm sharing my computer audio. Okay, I think I've done it, but someone feel free to say something if you can't hear. So again, this is just kind of a quick, well, it's not quick, it's 5 minutes long, but background history of Deloitte, how we got to where we are today. And I will go ahead and start. Someone interrupt me if you cannot hear.
(1849). The Great Western Railway, amidst turbulent commotion, fraud and corruption, appointed its first independent auditor, William Welch Deloitte. His innovative reforms would lay the foundation for an accounting system that protected investors from the mismanagement of funds. He would later become known as the Grand Old Man of the profession. 1883. A 22-year-old chartered accountant arrives in London. Elected to Parliament in 1910, he, along with John Niven, would build an organisation that would meet the increasing demands for professionals in a new era of income taxes. His name was Sir George Touche. On the heels of the US Securities and Exchange Act of 1934, Haskins and Sells would investigate government spending and would save the US government over $600,000. It was the first audit report of its kind after the passing of this historical piece of legislation. (1946). As Japan's post-war economic boom began to unfold, Vice Admiral Nobuzo Tomatsu retires from the Japanese Navy. 6 years later, he becomes a certified public accountant in Tokyo at the age of 56. Over the following decades, Deloitte steadily rose in stature.
Okay, I'm going to stop it there. But I like to show that video because I think it gives a good background of kind of how we got where we are. But also, before I started working at Deloitte, or when I first started working at Deloitte, I would have people come up to me and say, oh, I worked at Touche Ross or whatever it was. And I didn't really understand how those all happened. I know it as Deloitte. So I like that video because it shows the backgrounds of all the mergers and acquisitions and everything. But I want to kind of go into some more detail. So we are the largest of the professional services organizations globally. When comparing the big four, we have the largest headcount and revenue, and have had that over the past couple of years. So this slide kind of shows a little more of a visual of some more specific numbers. So on the left side, you have the US numbers, and then the right is the global. So we have 126 offices in the US, 95,000 professionals. We're in over 100 cities, and our FY20 revenue was 23.2 billion. So our fiscal year ends May 31st. So these are the numbers as of May 31st, 2020. And then on the right, you have, oh, sorry.
You'll just see the video.
Really? Huh. I don't even have the video pulled up now. Can you guys see this now? No? Okay, I'm going to stop sharing and then reshare. Sorry, guys.
No problem.
Okay, now can you see PowerPoint? Yes, okay, cool. So you didn't really miss anything on the last slide, so I'm not going to go back to it. But okay, so left side is US revenues and numbers, and right side is global. So I'm not going to repeat myself, but you guys can see the US ones. And then, like I said, on the right, we have over 300,000 globally, and our global revenues were 47.6 billion last year. So I kind of have a love-hate relationship with this slide. I love it because it has, it shows kind of our global reach and how big we are, but at the same time, sometimes I think it's scary to people that they don't want to work for such a big company and get lost in the shuffle and just be a number. So I also like to kind of give an anecdote that even though we are so big, it doesn't really seem that big. You have so many teams and so many resources and so many people that are always there for you that you always have a place to go. So for example, I started an audit back in 2013, and I was on a client up in Midland, Michigan for a couple of months, and the company, it was Dow Chemical, they were trying to acquire a bunch of smaller companies, and so they were actually selling pieces off. So we were doing what's called a carve-out audit, and they were flying people in from all over the country. So there was a guy who was also there, and he was from the Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania office. So we worked together for a couple months, never thought I'd see him again, and didn't really think much of it. So then I actually left Deloitte for 2 years, and once I came back in the recruiter role, he had since moved from Pittsburgh to Houston to Oklahoma City, and I am also the recruiter for the Oklahoma offices. And so we were actually working together again, but in a recruiting capacity. And I like to share that just because it's kind of weird. I never thought I'd see this dude again. And now we work together on a very, very regular basis. So just one kind of small story to minimize it and make it seem hopefully a little bit smaller. Okay, so I want to start with talking about tax, and then we'll go into audit. So this is a video, it's shorter than the last one, that just kind of gives a very brief overview of tax. So I'll start here, and then we'll go to the next slide. Maybe. You see this?
So, you think working in the tax practice at one of the big firms is all the same? Think again. At Deloitte, we're all about making an impact that matters.
Every day is different, with new opportunities and new projects happening all the time. Our projects typically involve collaborating with a large group of our peers, working directly with clients, and utilizing cutting-edge tools and innovative technology.
Tax can tell a company's whole story, where it has been, its current state, and its ability to take advantage of new opportunities. Projects can even span countries and tax codes. Since a company's every move can have significant tax implications, Deloitte's insight and strategy can be critical assets.
We use our knowledge to identify specific tax considerations that will benefit our clients, from assisting companies with a global mobility program to providing guidance through a transformation or merger to helping them navigate through complex US and global tax regulations. It's great to see the value we provide to our clients.
Deloitte pushes you to be your best. You'll own your own career. Constant opportunities will help you grow in ways you never imagined. And training programs and personal mentors will help provide you with the support that you need at every step of your career.
But it's really the people you work with every day that makes Deloitte special. Our inspiring leadership and coworkers have diverse backgrounds and experiences. So no matter where you're from, you'll immediately feel like you're part of our community.
There are so many opportunities here, and we hope you consider joining us to explore them. Deloitte is making a real impact by helping companies shape their future. What impact will you make?
So I like that video because it talks a lot about the different types of tax there are. I never worked in tax, so even though I recruit for it, I still, when I think of tax, just think of people filling out their tax returns and me either having to write a check in April or getting one. But we really do so much more. So this list on this screen is the different tax service lines that we offer within the US. So business tax services is what we call our core. That's really what you think of when you think of tax. But I also want to point out that even though that's the core and that's what you think of, tax at a Big Four firm is different than you working at a local CPA and just doing people's individual tax firms or tax returns. Most of our clients are very large companies that we're working with the audit teams doing the tax line item for and things like that. So while it is the core, it's still different than you just sitting there all day cranking out tax returns. But all of these are other different service lines that we offer within our tax group. Each office has different service lines that they offer. So in Kansas City, we have business tax services, we have 1 or 2 international tax people, we have multi-state, and then we have global employer services. So we just have 4 in Kansas City, but like I said, all of them have different ones that they offer as well. Any questions about tax before I move on? I know that was a very general, brief overview, but okay. Okay, now we're gonna go on to audit. So I have another video to show you guys. Sorry for all my videos today, but hopefully it's better than listening to me talk for 30 minutes.
Audit is in the midst of a transformation driven by evolving markets, changing regulations, and new technologies. Deloitte is at the forefront of shaping the future of audit so that we can deliver a high-quality audit and value-added insights for clients to consider. You have a vital role to play. By joining the audit practice, you can be part of a dynamic team that thrives by embracing a diversity of perspectives. From the very beginning of your career, you will have the opportunity to interact directly with clients and use new digital tools to help uncover potential risks.
Our Audit Innovation group develops cutting-edge, award-winning audit technologies. But Deloitte believes innovation can come from anywhere, so we encourage our professionals to experiment and collaborate. We then identify the best ideas from across the organization and invest millions to develop them. Whether you're a new hire or senior manager, you will have a chance to make your voice heard and make an impact.
Audit is one of the best places to build your career. You'll learn so much about different businesses across a range of industries. The experience you get at Deloitte can create a wealth of opportunities in audit. We have an established network of professionals who are invested in helping our people grow, develop, and succeed. Where will your journey take you?
If you're looking to be on the front lines of transformational change,
To be at an organization where your opinion matters,
and to have the flexibility and support to help you chart your own career path.
There's no better place.
There's no better place.
There's no better place than Deloitte.
Okay. So, what is audit? And that's a question that is hard to answer because I assume most people on this call probably haven't taken an audit class yet. Maybe you haven't even taken a tax class yet. But one reason why audit is good is because it's mandatory. It's not going away. So with this whole, well, and tax also, but with this whole COVID situation, like every company, Deloitte was a little worried about our revenues and how we were going to be affected. And I will say that both our audit and tax practices didn't have much of an effect from it at all. Public companies are all required to be audited. So that's one thing that maybe they cut back on their optional services that they were having a little bit, but the audit has to be done. So I don't want to say recession proof, but knock on wood, it's not going away. Accounting is never, ever going away. So that's a good reason that both audit and tax are actually good. So I know there's a lot of words on this slide and I'm not gonna like read through them all. Maggie, I didn't know if you were gonna send this out, so I wanted to just keep it all on there. But so essentially what our auditors do is we have lots of different teams that comprise our clients in whatever office that you're in. They're made up of people at all levels, and what those people are doing is auditing the financial statements and making sure that the numbers they're reporting are accurate to really protect the capital market and investors. So I know that's very high level, but that's what an audit is. Okay, so this is kind of the career progression for both staff and audit at Deloitte. So I will say most of our professionals do start as an intern with us, and then hopefully the internship goes well. We give them an offer to start with us full-time and they accept, and then they would come in as a staff. So the titles are different between tax and audit, but the career progression and timelines are the same. So I want to talk through this. But as a staff, you're on a couple of different clients, really doing the day-to-day task, whatever your teams need you to do. Since you are a first year at this point in time, we know that people are not really experts yet. So they are doing the more simple parts of the engagement, but nonetheless still contributing. So typically after about 2 years is when you get promoted to a senior. And at that point in time, you are supervising the staff and the interns. So it's kind of crazy to think just 2 years out of college, you can have supervisory responsibilities. But in public accounting, that's how it works. So that's kind of what I was saying earlier when Maggie asked about starting in public accounting. If you don't start as an intern or as a staff, it's very difficult to come in and be able to supervise when you don't necessarily know what they're doing. So then after 3 years is when people get promoted to manager. And at that point, they're a little more high level. So the seniors, I would say, are the ones kind of running the show day to day, but managers are making sure that we're on track for completion, looking at the budget. They're starting to build relationships with the leadership of the clients. They also at that point are having responsibility for selling business. And then after an undefined period of time, if you stay with Deloitte, you then would ultimately, the goal is to be promoted to a partner or managing director. So I think right now the average timeline is 12 to 16 years with the firm is when that promotion begins. And so I said partner and managing director, those are the same level. The difference is that partners are technically owners of the firm, so they have stock, and managing directors are employees. They both have pros and cons, but if you want to work on a big public client, the main signing partner on an audit has to be a partner and not a managing director. So if you guys have looked at audit reports, like the person who actually signs it, that has to be a partner. Any questions on this at all? Chat. Okay, I will move on. So, like I said, a lot of you probably haven't even taken audit or tax. So you're sitting here and wondering which way to go. And they are very different, but if you do either of them at a Big Four, any public accounting firm, you're going to have a successful career. So I want to start with that, just to kind of alleviate some of the stress of making a decision of which one you want to go to. That being said, on the Deloitte website, we have a resource and it's called Explore Your Fit. And this slide right here and the next one are screenshots of that tool. And so what it does is asks you your major, your year in school, and then a bunch of would you rather questions. And so once you've gone through these questions, I think there's maybe 15 of them, it'll spit out which section of Deloitte based upon your preferences and answers to these questions that we think you would be a good fit for. So this question, what would you prefer or find most rewarding, conceptual development or detailed analysis? So you kind of go through questions like that. And honestly, I don't even know which one of these is audit or tax. So some of them you can kind of figure out which way it's going, but some of them you can't. And so here is another screenshot from that tool. But I think this is good because if you really have no idea where you want to begin, this will kind of get your wheels turning and thinking about it. But the other good thing to do is just talk to people, network, do the most you can, ask people about their day-to-day, their career, whatever it is, to kind of help you make the best decision you can. I will say unofficially, I have found that people who start in tax are pretty well sure that they want to do tax. That's what they want to do for their career. Whereas the people who start in audit, sometimes they're very sure that they want to do audit, but sometimes they're kind of like, I don't really know what I want to be doing in 3 to 5 years. And that's okay. The fact of the matter is that most people do not stay in public accounting to become partners. I think the most recent stat I heard was that 1% of people make it to that level. So the very, 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 very high majority are leaving public accounting. And so that's why you kind of need to think about this, like, okay, do I want to be doing something in tax forever? Or do I think that maybe I would want to be a financial analyst at some point? Because if that's your thought process, then audit is probably a better place for you to start. So at the bottom here, again, Maggie, I don't know if you're sending this out, but I have a link here, or the tool is just Explore Your Fit on the Deloitte website. So you can Google it and it'll take you to that. Okay, so the recruiting process. While things have all gone virtual the past year, the actual process hasn't changed much. So this is talking about Deloitte specifically, steps 1 through 4. So we have all interview candidates complete an online assessment, and it's a little bit of a personality test, but also kind of shows you what your top traits are, what your bottom traits are, which it isn't necessarily a bad thing. It really just helps us to generate interview questions for you. So once we get your profile, it then will spit out questions that we maybe want to pry on or ask a little bit further in the interview. So there isn't a right or wrong answer. You're not going to get a job based upon how you do on the assessment. It's not like a score thing. It's just a qualitative report that we get. So that's step 1. And then some offices combine blocks 2 and 3. It really, if you want to stay in Kansas City, you just have 1 interview. So you would just do 2, sometimes 3 behavioral interviews with people manager level and above. A lot of times if people want to go to different offices. They'll do their first round with people locally in Kansas City, and then we transfer you to that other office to do your final interviews. But these will be video interviews, and they're through our platform that's called HireView. Most of the time, if we need to do one-offs, we'll just do Zoom interviews, but that's the process there, and they are behavioral. So they're we have just different question buckets, talking through your resume, career goals, experiences, that sort of thing. I will say people always come up to me after their interviews and are like, oh, that was way less bad than I was expecting it to be. So even though we're a Big Four firm, they're hopefully not super, super scary. And then after that, we do what we're calling cell visits. So we give offers after the interview. And then from there, we invite you to attend whatever events we're holding at that point in time. This year, especially, I know you guys go back to school next week, but KU and K-State don't go back until February. And our application deadline is the end of February. So there's not really a lot of time for us to hold a lot of events with career fairs and everything before that. So that's kind of why we do most of our events after the fact. See a chat. Okay. Kyle, we can chat later about that specifically. So this is just kind of the high level process. And then this is timeline, and this is a little bit abstract because it's probably going to be different for all of you. And so I kind of tried to keep it as general as possible without years. But the most important thing to know is your CPA eligible graduation date. Whether that's 4 years and you double majoring, or whether you went to community college for a year and are going to be at UMKC for 2.5, whatever it is, that date and when you want to start working full time is very, very important to know. That's the first question I ask anyone. When I started this job, I would ask people, what year in school are you? And it started like, oh, well, it's my first semester at KU, but I'm a second semester sophomore by hours and I'm graduating early and blah, 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 blah. And it's just like, it's too much. So CPA eligible date is what's important. And then on top of that, when you want to start working full-time is important. So Maggie, I heard you say the girl whose handshake profile you were showing was a December grad. So we don't start very many people in January. We start most of our people in like the summer for tax and early fall for audit. And so we do have January starts, they're just not as frequent. So if you graduate in December and you want to start working immediately in January, it's important for me to know that because that affects your timeline as well. Whereas if you graduate in December and you want to take 9 months off to finish the CPA or go travel or do whatever you want to do, that's important for me to know too.
And I will say, Lindsay, Erica just was finished with her BSA in December, was doing an internship this semester, and then starting her MSA next year at a different school. So still sort of on your timeline, just finished up the BSA early.
Gotcha. Okay. So either way, just think through if you want to start immediately or wait a couple months if you're a December grad. If you have the option, if you're going to be a December CPA eligible grad, and you have the option to wait until the fall, I think that's the easier way to go. It's difficult to start in January in busy season without having the CPA pass. It's just kind of a lot going on, but at the same time, there's a lot of people who can't do that. If you're an international student and your work authorization has to start or whatever it is, we do offer that. If you have the option to take a few months for yourself before you start working for the rest of your life isn't necessarily a bad thing. But anyway, so know your CPA eligible date and then you work backwards from that. So say you're going to be CPA eligible in May 2024. So that would mean that you would start working full-time in 2024, either the summer or fall, most likely. You would intern calendar year before that. So either a winter or a summer internship in 2023. And then you would actually interview and go through the recruiting process even a year before that. So 2022. So like Maggie was saying, it's super, super early. You interview a full year before you would intern in most cases. So it is important to kind of get on the ball right now. So this semester, spring 2021, we are interviewing people who are going to be CPA eligible, ready to start in 2023. Any questions on that?
And I'll just say that's all the big four. They're all on that timeline. Some of the smaller firms might be recruiting more in the fall, but I feel like, Lindsay, to your point, it just gets earlier and earlier all the time. So all the big four will have their 2023 applications. And are you doing any 2022? Well, you're doing 2022 this spring, right? For next
yes, spring. 2022 internships. Yep. Okay. Any other questions on timeline at all? Maggie, did I cover everything you wanted me to cover?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, cool. Okay, well, that is all I had in terms of slides. So I don't know if there's anything else or any questions. Happy to answer whatever.
Yeah, guys, feel free to put things in the chat or unmute. We'll all hang out for a few minutes to answer any questions that you guys have.
When are you planning on posting the winter 2022 audit internships? And are they going to be on Handshake?
Yes, they'll be on Handshake. Our postings are supposed to be approved today. Nothing has gone according to plan though. So I would just look over the next couple of weeks on Handshake. And you will apply through Handshake, but then it'll also direct you to apply on the Deloitte website.
Thank you.
And then we have a question from Summer. If you're a transfer student with 2 years left, do you need to go ahead and get started with interviews and internships? Yes, definitely. You know, there's all different types of, you know, these public accounting firms in terms of size and if they're headquartered in Kansas City or not headquartered in Kansas City. So to Lindsay's point, if you want to work in a different office, you'll work with Lindsay. That's pretty much the case for all the firms. So even if you want to leave the Kansas City market, you'll first connect with your Kansas City campus recruiter. And that's why so many of our firms are coming to the BAP Spring Networking event in a couple of weeks to tell you about these opportunities because they are opening this spring. The other thing too, and Lindsay, you can speak to this, I have a lot of students who are like, should I take a semester off and intern in winter? Should I do summer? It's, in my perspective, it seems there are less opportunities in summer and sometimes more opportunities in winter because it is busy season, but can you speak to that a little bit too?
Yeah, so that's true. And for the most part, we have more interns in the winter, but at the same time, it's difficult to play that game and figure out which way is best. Because I'll tell you, like KU and K-State and Mizzou's programs are set up to kind of force them into winter internships. And so we actually, this year, we filled our winter spots and still had summer spots left, which has never happened to me before. So it's difficult to hedge your bets that way. I would kind of do what works for you. And since we do interview so early, it kind of affords you the opportunity to, hey, I'm open to either winter or summer if you can make it work, and then adjust your schedule accordingly based on if you get an offer. But it's hard to play the game because you don't know. It's just what works best for you is what I would try to go with.
Absolutely. And just another great reason to go to the networking event because, you know, Lindsay's going to have certain spots she's trying to fill, whether that be summer or winter. Marks Nelson, who's headquartered here, and this is the largest office, they might have something a little bit different, and they usually don't start recruiting until the fall. And so going and talking to these different firms to get each of their timelines, when they'll be opening applications, and if they do have more winter versus summer, each firm is going to be a little bit different. So it's important to talk to everybody who you might be interested in. What is the biggest tip you can give as we figure out what field of accounting we should go into?
So mine is, and I just said this to Kyle in a private message, but don't freak out. I know that it's scary because when you start interviewing, people are going to ask you which one you want to go into and expect you to have a decision. And it's might seem scary that you're committing to that when you don't know, but at the same time, I will tell you, like at Deloitte, at least, we have had people do an internship in tax and they're like, no, I want to do audit. And in most cases, we can accommodate that. But I will say, while we can accommodate that, it very, very rarely happens. Your gut instinct is typically going to lead you the right direction, but so don't freak out when trying to make a decision, but also just talk to as many people as you can who are in whatever field you think you want to go to. And even if it's not someone who's currently in public accounting, maybe someone who worked at Deloitte for a couple years and has since left and doing something different with their career, they're going to have a good perspective too. So networking, I know it's annoying. I hated doing it in college, but it is really important and is going to help you.
Lindsey, do you hire accounting students into your consulting practice at all, or is that a different track?
Not that I know of, but our consulting practice recruits at a very specific set of schools, and they won't hire UMKC students. So
if you do want to go into consulting, that's a great thing to keep in mind as you might decide to pursue an MBA, that there are certain consulting practices, the big three, Deloitte, that they have like top 25 schools that they really look at. So if you are an undergrad and you decide that you want to go into consulting at some point, come talk to us so we can help you identify MBA or master's level programs that could get you into those pipelines. Awesome. Okay. Just looking at the chat. What other questions do you guys have?
And I just put my email in the chat as well. So feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions, or you can message me through Handshake too, I believe.
And Lindsey, again, will be at that BAP Spring Networking event. So, great time to chat with her about those applications that are opening up here within the next few days. And different opportunities that Deloitte has coming up as well. So interest in 2021 summer internships. It sounds like Deloitte, you are full for 2021.
Yeah. So like I said, we interview and hire about a year ahead of time. So for the most part, we filled our remaining 2021 spots last semester.
And I will say that's going to be kind of a common theme across the public accounting firms, because if they didn't do it a year before, they did it mostly in the fall. And so we do every once in a while have firms that reach out to us, sometimes in like November, December for a January start, every once in a while, April, May for summer starts, because they took on a new client or suddenly have a need for more interns than they realized that they were going to. And so there are some last minute spots, but at this point, if you are looking for a summer 2021, I would encourage you to look at government or private accounting, because they are still recruiting for summer of 2021 and will be at this upcoming career fair on February 17th. And if you have, go ahead.
I was gonna just say one other thing is Monica is unique and that she has an internship with Deloitte after what is her junior year, I think, is what you would technically be classified as. that's rare for us. She said she's doing a discovery internship. We have very, very few of those spots. So and this is all Big Four. In most cases, you are not going to get an early internship with a Big Four. So if you're not going to be CPA eligible until 2023, but you want an internship in 2021, your option is going to be with private at this point. And that's great. That looks really great on your resume to say that you're doing that. And that's going to help you with the Big Four interview process. But I just want to say it's rare for us to give internships at that stage in your career. So I don't want you to, well, Monica's so great and it would be great for everyone to compare themselves and model her after her. What she has with Deloitte is rare. So don't think that you're behind the 8 ball because you don't get an internship at that point in time.
Yeah, if you guys can do, like, if you're juniors or even sophomores and you're kind of wanting to prepare to start doing this recruitment for the Big Four, you know, when you are a couple of years out from being CPA eligible, getting private accounting internships, that's the way to go. Because, you know, it does kind of, it's not great to have to sit around until that, you know, winter or summer of your senior year to do your first internship. You have time before that to do things. So go and do private. I've had students do all kinds of private accounting internships and then really leverage that during the interview process with the public accounting firms. And it's not, you know, the same sort of thing. You're not going to be doing the same thing in private that you would in public, but it's still giving you, you know, this really great experience to speak to in your interviews, and it looks great on your resume. And it just shows that you're a go-getter and you wanted experience earlier and you went after it. So,
yeah. Then I see another question in the chat. What would happen if something came up and I couldn't be CPA eligible by the anticipated time? So it's much easier for us if you push your date back than if you're like, oh, suddenly I'm graduating a semester early, because I feel like I'm beating a dead horse here, but we hire so early that we very rarely have positions open earlier than what you're slotted for. If you decide you want to join the Peace Corps for a year or something and want to defer your date, that's much easier for us to accommodate than the opposite.
and I'd say that goes across all the firms for sure. Any other last minute questions? Oh, awesome. Thank you for that, Monica. So parting advice, if we don't have any other questions. So as we've talked a lot about, and Lindsey touched on it too, like you really need to know that CPA eligible date and move backwards. And so in order to understand what that CPA eligibility date is, you really need to be working closely with Ashley in our office, as well as your academic advisor. We work really closely together to make sure that you're on track. Your academic advisor will tell you how many credits you need to get to 150 and what the path is to get there, whether that's an MSA, a double major, you add a minor or two, whatever that is, you know, they will explain to you the path to get to 150. And then Ashley will be able to, from there, really map out your timeline going backwards, like Lindsey alluded to. So definitely keep in touch with us, keep in touch with your academic advisor. And then anytime we have events like this BAP networking event or career fairs, events like this, thank you all so much for being here. Come talk to Lindsey, talk to our recruiting partners. Obviously, they are the ones that will tell you what you need to know to get, you know, hooked up with these companies for internships and full-time opportunities. And we just thank you all so much for being here. Lindsey, thank you so much for taking time this morning to chat with our students. And you have Monica's info, you have Lindsey's info. You guys know where to find us. And yeah, just enjoy the last couple of days of winter break. We will see you next week. And yeah, stay safe, mask up, and we'll chat with you guys all soon. Thank you so much. Take care.